In this video, we're going to write JavaScript code which will send the AJAX call and upload the profile picture. But before we do this, we're going to build another feature which will change the picture preview once we select a certain file. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this and then build the AJAX call straight after. So what we want to do, we want to update the picture preview. So we're going to select the input, okay, of the picture using its ID, and then we're going to say if that input is changed, then update the preview. Okay, so let's select the inputs. The inputs ID was picture. Okay, and the function we're going to use here, or the method, is change. Okay, so this method will take a function as a parameter. Okay, so first of all, we are going to get the file which the user is uploading. Okay, so I'm going to create a variable at the beginning. I'm going to call it file, and then we're going to use this variable inside the function. The reason why I define the variable outside is because we're going to need this variable later on. Okay, when we're sending the AJAX call, we don't want to rewrite this code inside the function, so we're going to refer to that variable again. So this variable is going to store the image that the user is trying to upload. Okay, so we're going to access first the input itself using the keyword this. So we're using the keyword this because we are already inside a method of this element. Okay, so we're referring here to the input of ID picture. Okay, and we need a number sign there. Okay, so then to access the file, we're gonna access an array which is files. So this file is gonna return the file list, okay, in the input. Basically, in our case, we can only upload one image, but if you add to the input an attribute called multiple, you can upload many images, but that's not our case in this project. Okay, so we are interested only in one picture, so we're going to access the first element inside the array files, and that's the element of index 0. All right. Okay, now in order for us to validate the picture, we're going to check a couple of elements. So we're going to check the image type and the image size. Okay, so you're going to allow only a few types for the picture. So let's store the image type inside a variable image type. I'm going to define that again right there, as I'm going to refer to it later on. So to get the type of our file, we're going to get the file, and then we're going to use a property of that file. It's called type. Okay. If you want, you can print the file elements in the console just to see what you've got inside. So let's select a picture. Okay, and then let's have a look at the console. Okay, so that's what we see, and we can see the type of the file, and we can also see the size of the file. Okay, so let's get the size as well. And we're going to define the variable image size right there. Okay. So now you've got the type and we've got the size. All right, now let's start with the image type and let's validate the type of the image. So what we're going to do, we're going to create an array where we're going to place all the types acceptable for our image. So let's call this array acceptable types. Okay. So I'm going to choose 3 types here. So first one is going to be image/JPEG. And then image/PNG. And then JPEG with JPG, like this. Okay. So now we're going to check if that type is inside the array. So we're going to use a function, a jQuery function called inArray. Okay, so if you remember, we've already used this function in one of the previous projects. So this function is going to take a couple of parameters. So the first parameter is going to be our image type. Okay, and the second one is going to be our array. All right, so if the image type is inside the array, this function is going to return the index of that element. Okay, so if the image type is image/JPEG, then this is going to return 0. If image type is not inside the array, then this function is going to return -1. So what we're going to do, we're going to return, or we're going to store the output of this function inside a variable, or we can just check the value of this statement. Okay, is this equal to 1? And we can place the results inside a variable that I'm going to call wrong type. So let's define that variable right at the top. Okay. All right. And we want that to be -1, not 1. Okay, so if the image type is not inside the array, then this is going to be -1 and the wrong type is going to be true, meaning that we've got the wrong type for our file. Okay, so now if we've got the wrong type, then we're going to show an error message. Okay, inside the picture message, which is update picture message. And we're going to say something like only JPEG, PNG, and JPEG images are accepted. Okay, all right, now let's move to the size. I'm going to do something very similar, but this time it's going to be pretty straightforward. So we're going to check if the size is greater than 3 megabytes. So we're going to need to convert megabyte to kilooctet. So we're going to need to multiply twice by 1024. So if that's the case, we're going to show another error message here saying, please upload an image less than 3 megabytes. Okay, and then we're going to return false, meaning that we're going to get out of the function, and we're going to do the same thing right there. Okay. Okay, so if the type is not right, we're going to show that, and that's it. Okay, we're not going to show this. So basically, every time we're just going to show one message, and then the user is going to figure out what's wrong. All right. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to convert the file which the user has uploaded to a binary string, and we're going to do that to be able to manipulate the file later on, okay, and use it to show the preview. So what we're going to do here, we're going to use something called a file reader. So there is a constructor called file reader that we can use to build an object, and that object is going to have a few methods that we can use. Okay, so first of all, let's build this file reader. So basically the file reader, I'm just going to repeat this quickly in the comments. So it's going to be an object. Okay, so we're going to be using it to convert our image to a binary file, binary string. Okay, so let's define a variable and call it reader, and use the constructor file reader. Okay, so this reader is gonna read the contents of files. Okay, so that's the constructor. We don't need any arguments there. Okay, so one of the methods of this object is going to be the onload method. So this method can be used to have a callback. Okay, so once we read the file, we're going to have a callback. So a callback is going to be a function that we will execute. Okay, and let's call this function update preview, because we want to update the preview right there. Okay, now in order for us to update that preview, we will need a source for the image, because basically what we're going to be doing, we're just going to take that image and change the source attributes of the image. So to do that, we're going to use another method of this reader objects. It's called read as data URL. Okay, so the way it works is as following. So we're going to start the read operation, and everything is going to happen in the background. So when the entire content of our image is loaded, then we're going to take that data and convert it to a URL. And then we're going to use that URL to change the source attributes of this picture. We have already dealt with image URLs earlier in one of the previous projects in the drawing app. Okay, so this is pretty similar. Okay, but we need to use other functions for this. So what's going to happen here? So we're going to start the read operation. Okay. And then, so once the contents are loaded, okay, we're going to convert the content into a data URL. Okay, so once we get the data URL, it's going to be passed to the callback function, which is update preview. So when we wrote this function there, we didn't give it any arguments, but later on, it's going to take an argument that we're going to call event. Okay, we're going to come back to that in a bit. So we're going to pass this to the callback function. So the method is called read as data URL. Okay, and it's going to take one argument. It's going to be the actual file, okay, our picture. Okay. Now let's go ahead and define this function update preview. So this function is going to take one parameter. We're going to call it event. Okay, so for now, let's just try something. Let's just print the event in the console and see what we get. So I'm going to select a picture. Okay, nothing happens there. And then let's have a quick look at the console. So that's the events. Okay, so if we go to the targets property and then to the results, then you can see there the data URL of our image. Okay, so that's the URL we're going to use to change the picture in the preview. Okay, so to do this, we're gonna select the image. Okay, let's see if we have given it an ID. Okay, we gave it a class. Okay, let's give it an ID as well. Preview 2. And let's select the image using its ID. Okay, so to change the source attributes, we're going to use the attributes method. Okay, so it's going to take a couple of parameters. So the first one is the source, and the second one is going to be events.target.results. All right, so let's save and refresh the page. Okay, great. So you can see that the preview has changed. All right, now let's test our code and make sure that everything works. So let's select an image. Okay, so we don't get any error messages and we can see the preview appearing there. Now let's select a file with the wrong type. Okay, so we can see the error message there. And now let's select a file which is too big, or just reduce the maximum size allowed. And okay, we're gonna need to refresh the page first. Okay, now let's select a picture. Okay, and we can see the error message, okay, related to the size. So now if we go back to the old size and save, we'll be able to upload that picture. Okay. In the next video, we're going to write code to submit the form using Ajax.